Hey, hello everyone and welcome to Extreme Graphics Tech. My name is Angelo and well, today I just want to make one of those opinion piece videos where I say or explain something I've been thinking for a while, where everybody's going to get angry at me and write hateful comments in the comments below. Um, and the video today, as you can see by the title of it, is about gaming console needs to disappear. But hear me out for a second. I know this is a controversial opinion and that many of you already have your pitchfork out and you want my blood, but hear me out for a second. When I say consoles need to disappear, what I'm trying to say is the traditional concept of consoles we know today, at least for some brands. And why I'm bringing this today? Well, I talked about this a while ago on my Spanish channel, but I want to discuss it here because I have a new perspective on all of this. And this is because recently, together with all different eShops that have been disappearing, Microsoft announced that the Xbox 360 store is going to be shut down, which means you're not going to be able to buy many more of the games that are only digital, except for those that are backwards compatible. But as we know, the backwards compatibility of Xbox One and Xbox Series with the previous Xbox and Xbox 360 is in less than 50%. So that means there is a lot of games that are going to basically be locked out and that people will not able to buy or play anymore. I know there are many different ways to play these games, you know, emulation and illegal ways that you have to go through if you want to buy these games. But then, you know, this hasn't only happened with Xbox or Microsoft. PlayStation was going to shut down the PlayStation Vita and PlayStation Vita and PlayStation 3, I believe, store, and then there was outrage, and well, they kept it alive. However, we know for sure that at some point PlayStation is also going to shut down that store because, well, whether you like it or not, PlayStation 3 is not being sold anymore, and PlayStation 4 and 5 do not have backwards compatibility. And even though Xbox is doing a much better job, it's still not great. And now let's not talk about Nintendo. Okay, Nintendo is even worse. We know many of their digital shops are closing. Wii closed, Wii U is going to be closed or already closed, or you can still download, but you know, at some point you are not even going to be able to download the games anymore. And this made me think that this whole discussion around, you know, because many people outline, including John from Digital Foundry, you know, there was MVG, you know, Modern Vintage Gamer, also, you know, he even tweeted saying, Senior is forever. And then this made me think that the reason, you know, people outcry and this is happening is because of consoles. Because I don't remember a time where people on PC said anything like this. You know, there has never been this situation. Even though PC has like 30, 35 or more, but let's talk about the last 35 years of gaming, which is roughly the amount of time I've been playing. I still can play those games. You know, one way or another, you can still play those games because PC has always been an evolution. And even though there has been some radical changes, for example, when we went from DOS to Windows 95 or DOS to Windows XP or Windows 3.1 and then some games, and you know, they have some broken things here and there, you can still play most of the games that came out. And even legally, because you can go to GOG and buy a big selection of classic games from an older time. Like Monkey Island, like, I don't know, Full Throttle, Sierra games like King Quest, Hero Quest, Gabriel Knight, you know, just to mention a few of those that come to my mind right now. You can even play the original Civilization, SimCity, High Octane, I don't know, Little Big Twin Odyssey, Little Big Adventure, and so many more, no? Veil of Darkness. I'm just coming up with the games I remember from my childhood, but there are many more games. And yeah, they use things like ScumVM, DOSBox, and so on to bring compatibility to some of those games. Other games have been running under Windows compatibility mode. We're using some software that allows you to emulate 3D FX glide system of the time and so on. I remember using my Voodoo 2, and then many of those games somehow for a while were lost. But there has been a much intense effort of preservation in the PC space, where right now, yes, there are some games lost in time, but most games you can still play. Ironically, you can play most Super NES, NES, and most console games on PC while you can on consoles. And that's because this is the problem. Consoles is like a time capsule. They are part of an era. I can remember my life based on when the console was at the time. I've been lucky enough to have grown up having a PC, but also some kind of console. Until the PlayStation 1, where I was already working and I was able to afford all the systems at the time, like, the PlayStation 1 and the Nintendo 64. I never had a Saturn, but then, I had a Dreamcast and a PlayStation 2 and an Xbox and so on. But I also always had some kind of PC with me. So for me, the problem is, they used to be like a picture of a time, a situation where the console came out and then something new had to come, and you couldn't just play old games, so you had to make new games for this one that were not backward compatible. The previous game, you were not able to use it on the new system for many reasons, limitations of the time, cost, etc, etc, etc. But this is not being the situation with PC, where you right now can still play even the original Tomb Raider in the Steam store, for example. And I think this is one of the biggest reasons I am saying that consoles need to disappear. But not in the sense that, because I understand many people get angry when you say things like this because you are an elitist, you want nobody, and PC has hundreds of problems and so on, and all these issues, right? Yes, you're right. I understand that you don't want to deal with all the problems that PC may have, and it's not as comfortable as a console. But what I'm saying is that what needs to disappear is the traditional concept of a console. And I think Microsoft is doing a much better job at this at the moment than PlayStation and Nintendo. Let's talk about Nintendo for a second. We know that at some point the Nintendo Switch 2 is coming. But at this point, nobody can say for certain if that Nintendo Switch 2 or whatever it's called is going to be backwards compatible with the Nintendo Switch. And this is something that none of us ever think on the PC space. You're never thinking if when you buy the next RTX 5090 or the next whatever series of cards come, if your previous games are going to be compatible. Is the other way around, actually, because not only those games are going to work, but they are going to work much better. So many people right now may be playing Cyberpunk at 1080p, 60 frames per second, medium settings, but they know that 3, 4, 5 years, whatever time it takes them to have a better computer with absolutely superb support for ray tracing, that they will be able, without paying anything extra for the software, to play Cyberpunk at 4K 120 FPS overdrive mode, so with all the ray tracing bells and whistles. While on consoles, you're always wondering, are they going to update the game? Are they not going to update? Am I going to be able to play those games on the new system? Because you never know. That's not for granted. This is not something we even think on the PC space. And it's not only that. This is Steam Deck, which is, I love it. This is a very incredible system. And I think it's part of what's happening with the PC space that is making everything better. So I buy the game once and I am able to play it here, and I'm able to play at 720p, 30 FPS, but on the go, and I'm able to play them at home, the same game with the same save game on my 4090 at 4K 120 FPS RTX if I want to. And then I have my other PC over here that is also using the same game. I don't need to buy different games. So when I say that Microsoft is doing a better job, it's because the games you buy on the Xbox store, at least, you have a way to play them on PC. It's basically you buy one and you have this whole ecosystem where you can play your games. So PlayStation and Nintendo, and if console disappears, what I'm trying to say is that what needs to happen is some sort of unification of systems. PlayStation can still create their own console, but it's more PC-like, or when you create the game, these games, is, you know, you buy one on the PlayStation Store or whatever, and that games run in anything, you know. So if you then, you know, they can create like a PlayStation 6 that is just PC components selected by them, tested by them, that they think this is the right price, and we can sell the system. So when you buy the game, whether you buy it on Steam, you buy it on PlayStation Store, or you buy anywhere, that game is going to work on your system too. So you download it from them, or you have to buy the game from the PlayStation Store. It doesn't matter, because that's the beauty of PC. You can have many stores, or as many stores you want. So when you download the game on PlayStation, there is a specific version for PlayStation downloaded, but then you just go to your PC, and if you have a better or worse PC, you buy that. And if somebody else sells like a PC-like console for a different vendor, still you can play your PlayStation games on that one. And the same thing for Nintendo. So I think what I'm trying to say is that what needs to happen is some sort of unification, because if everybody's using essentially PC hardware, you know, then it shouldn't be this, like, okay, the PlayStation Store is going out, and then all those games are lost forever because nobody will be able to buy them. You know, if the PlayStation 5 goes, then you still should be able to download and play your games on something completely different that is not a PlayStation. Because many PlayStation 1 games, for example, you know, they were physical games because of the situation, but you cannot buy them legally anymore today. You have to buy them second hand only, or, you know, download them and play on emulation, which I don't think is, you know, it's great. If PlayStation had a store that worked on PC with all the classic from PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, they would probably still be making money out of those games instead of just being lost in time. Many people say, well, I don't buy a new console to watch all movies, to play all games, and that may be true for some, but also for so many is a way of discovering. I was not born in the 1930s, but I have watched Gone with the Wind, and the reason is because it's available. I bought the 4K Blu-ray because I think it's a great movie, even though it was made like 50 years before I was even born. So games are like that. Many people don't care about Gone with the Wind, but many other people do, and many people would like to play the original games from PlayStation or the Super NES or the NES, but they can't because the hardware is not made anymore, and those games have not been made available legally in any other form. Most of them, Nintendo has the online system, which has some games, but they are not all, and they are limited to you paying, you know, a monthly fee. And this is the reason this is not working. If the virtual console was something that ran on your PC, you know, all the games you bought during the Wii times or the Wii U time, you will still be able to use them on PC. So if they don't want to change the way that the consoles work, especially for Nintendo and PlayStation, because, well, you know, we make money out of the hardware, we control the system and everything, they should allow you to have a way to access those games that you bought on previous generations, at least from a PC standpoint. And I think this will be much easier if the consoles, as we know today, didn't exist, but they were some sort of unification of hardware, where, you know, some people will play like equivalent of a Series S with the settings they can, because you can put just the settings they need, and, you know, you have this SQ of big PC that is controlled. PlayStation know how the game is going to run here. But if you have, or you want to spend more money having a much better experience, better graphics, and you have the money to spend, you can. If you don't, you have something, you know, that costs less. You have a variety of hardware. So so this whole thing makes me kind of sad, because I grew up with an Atari 2600. It was my first console. Then I went to Intellivision, then NES, ColecoVision. I had a Super Nintendo and so on. I loved consoles, but I have realized while growing older that the concept of console is old. It doesn't work anymore. And every single time I can, I prefer to buy the game on PC because I buy once and then I can play on anything that even, I mean anything like a Steam Deck, my other PC and so on. While on PlayStation, you can do that. On Switch, you can do that. And on Xbox, you sort of can, but as long as you buy the game through the Xbox app, which sometimes is not the best because that app kind of sucks on PC, but at least it's an option if you want to play your game on Xbox and you want to play your game on PC. But that's sort of limiting you to those two things, because then if you want to play those games on the Steam Deck, I can because the Xbox app doesn't work, but I could stream them, which is an option. So well, there is always some sort of option, but it's not optimal. So that's why having a unification where, for example, the games you could buy on Steam is the best at the moment. It's specifically for this, or GOG because they don't have DRM. But the reason Steam is being so successful is because you have so many options. So you are not bound to one system. Steam has been trying to expand as much as possible to Mac, to Linux, to Steam Deck, to your normal PC. Xbox, well, it's limited to Windows because obviously they are going to. So, but that's my point. But even so, I would prefer to have, more options, and knowing that my games are not just a picture of a specific time frame, and out of that, the game is not going to work unless I use some sort of emulation or illegal way to play my game, right? I should be able to always play those games in some way or another. I shouldn't be tied because people, well, you always have the original hardware. There are not more PlayStation 1s being made, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, and even PlayStation 4. So those specific games that are tied to those systems are dying with those systems, unless these companies either start doing something for preservation where you can still play those games, or they change the way they look at consoles. So as I said, from my point of view, well, Xbox is a middle point. It's not the worst, but still the Xbox 360 store is going to close, and so many 360 and Xbox games are dying and going to disappear. The way the whole WiiWare games gone from the Wii store. But still, well, at least there is something there, and hopefully any new console Microsoft put out is going to have this sort of backward compatibility that started very strongly with the Xbox One, with the Xbox One to the Series S, which is 100% compatible. The same, I hope it happens to the PlayStation 6, where it's going to be 100% compatible with PlayStation 4 and 5 just because of the architecture. But the moment they need to change the architecture, that's going to probably break everything apart. And I know this cannot be done because unfortunately, it's new architecture and this is not going to work. And so nothing is going to keep working. That's unfortunate because, as I said, consoles are like a snapshot of a time frame. And I wish this started to change. So it's not the console itself, that simple machine that I want to disappear. I want the concept of what it has been so far. PlayStation can still do a console, Nintendo can still do a console, but this console needs to be more open, unified in a way that the games don't die and live with the system. This is just a little bit of a rant I had today because I've been thinking about this a lot, and I have been realizing that I care about console less and less and less because of this, because I feel tied to the system, because the games don't grow with your hardware. Many games you cannot Bloodborne, still you cannot play that at 60 FPS or anything legally. There are many games that are like that, where on PC any game you buy is going to improve graphically the same as your hardware without having to pay even an extra cent. And that's a thing that you are never going to get with consoles. And I still can play my original Monkey Island game on my PC, but I cannot play my NES games on the Switch, for example. So, I understand at the time, but we are not in the 1980s, 1990s anymore. This is the 2020s. And I think gaming preservation and the possibilities of playing your games that you bought should always be there. Thank you very much, and see you on the next video.